What's going on, Tampa Bay Lightning fans? Welcome back to the Six-Man Show Postgame Live, presented by Rock'em. Your Tampa Bay Lightning win again, this time 6-2 over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Tampa continues to be one of the hottest teams in hockey, and we are fired up about it. Even though tough loss last night at the hands of the Florida Panthers, tonight they bounce back in a big way. Again, 6-2 over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Glad you guys are hanging out with us. Excited to get to celebrate a win with you guys tonight. Just kidding. Welcome to the Six-Man Show Postgame Live, presented by Rock'em. Your Orlando Magic fall again to the Toronto Raptors. This time it's 114-113. Yeah, rough. Doesn't get much lower than this. You get swept by the Raptors in this 2-game homestand against them. This time you lose in very different fashion than Sunday, and yet at the same time, the same. Yeah, you fall apart in the third quarter. Valiant effort in the fourth quarter. Paolo was elite in the fourth quarter. Franz was very good in the fourth quarter. And then, unfortunately, it was Jacoby Walter who hit both of those shots, right? He hit the 3 to tie it and the 3 to win it, right? I got to pull up the play-by-play here. I'm pretty sure he hit both of those. Or was it someone else that hit both of those? Regardless, at the insult to injury is the fact that the Raptors didn't play their star players down the stretch. Like, they were sitting there celebrating on the bench. No, excuse me, it was Lawson. Lawson hit the first 3. And then Walter hit the second 3. Just ridiculous. Like, I'll give them credit for those 2 shots. Those were 2 huge shots that they hit. But yeah, this game really wasn't even about the final minutes for me. It was about the previous 47, as it has so often been lately. We'll talk all about it here tonight. Welcome to the show. Again, my name's Kevin. Glad you're hanging out with us. Just hard to believe that this is the state of this basketball team right now. But here we are. This show is brought to you by Rock'em. They're the world's largest sock store. They make socks and underwear for some of your favorite teams, including the Orlando Magic. You can get some of these stuffed socks. Are still available at Rock'em.com. You can get, I think I have my Tampa Bay. So I was making a Tampa Bay Lightning joke earlier. I think I still have my Tampa Bay Lightning socks somewhere in my pile. You guys should see my pile of socks. I've never shown you guys my pile of socks. You know how many socks I get from Rock'em? Because they're the best. I got all. Oh, here they are. They just fell out. Here we go. Tampa Bay Lightning socks. You can get those at Rock'em.com. You can get all kinds of fun stuff and underwear at Rock'em.com. And when you do that, just be sure you use this code MAGIC20. It'll get you 20% off your order at Rock'em.com all season long. Yeah, even when the Magic are losing miserably, you can still shop at Rock'em.com, and that code will still get you 20% off. That's the beauty of Rock'em, is there, this code that they've graciously given you guys to give you 20% off. It doesn't ebb and flow with the Magic season. If the Magic are great, you get 20% off. If the Magic suck, you get 20% off. And right now, the Orlando Magic suck. It's hard to believe, but this team has completely fallen apart. Again, they lose 114-113 tonight over the Toronto Raptors. And when did Toronto check out their guys? They checked out RJ Barrett with 97 seconds left. And when did they... What about, what's his name? What's the other guy? I'm absolutely having a... Scotty Barnes, 7:49. 7:49 is when Scotty Barnes came out and did not come back. So they did this whole thing at the end of the game without Scotty Barnes, and the last 97 seconds of the game without RJ Barrett. That's a tough pill to swallow. That is a tough pill to swallow right there. That hurts. That hurts that you cannot do it. And part of it is, like, Paolo was outrageous in this fourth quarter. I think he was like 7 for 7 or 8 for 8 in the fourth quarter. He was so good. Franz was really good too. Unfortunately, you just dug yourself too big of a hole in the third quarter. It's rough. It's really, really rough. Tough state of things. But glad to get to react to it with all of you tonight. Let's go to the super chats here. First off, we have Shahin, always reliable Shahin, with a super chat here. Says, this hurts. Paolo went superstar mode there. Again, that's part of what hurts, is like, he was great, Franz was great in the fourth quarter, and yet it still wasn't enough. That just doesn't feel good. That's really tough. Soul Train says guards seem so underwhelming since Suggs got hurt. Yeah, the guard situation in Orlando is dire. Add to the fact that Cole didn't play tonight. That's why you have to end up starting Corey Joseph, and you have Anthony Black off the bench, and that's pretty much it, right? Like, no, I mean, you can consider Jet Howard a guard, I guess, but he was not good tonight. It's just bad. Thank you for that, Soul Train. And then Nick Monk says, of course, Mr. 10 goes off versus us. Oh, sorry, Mr. 10 Day, goes off versus us. What's new, guys? Yeah, why not? Why not have 10-day contract guys go off against us when we're at our lowest? Here's the thing, like that phrase, when it rains, it pours, that has been the Orlando Magic season. Thank you guys for those super chats, by the way. If you want to have your message read on the show, definitely hit us up with a super chat. 100% of every super chat gets read, and of course, unless it's some sensitive lingo or whatever. But yeah, super chats get read, and then we try to hit a bunch of the other messages in the chat as well. But yeah, when it rains, it pours, guys. Like, what more do you want from this team, from specifically our stars in the fourth quarter? Paolo and Franz were great in the fourth quarter. They did just about everything right, just about everything you could ask of them, and you still come up short on a miraculous heave with 0.5 of a second left. Like, what can you do with that? 41, 7, and 8 for Paolo, 28 and 5 for Franz. Magic shot 41% from 3 and lost. I don't know how many times that's happened this year. It might not have happened yet. I don't know. It's certainly less than a handful. It's crazy. Man, hard to believe, but this is the state of the Orlando Magic right now. Absolutely nothing can go our way. It's impossible. Impossible. Magic have now lost 4 in a row. They sit 29 and 34, a game and a half behind the Miami Heat, who are in 7th, and half a game up of the Atlanta Hawks, who are in 9th. And I believe the Hawks are playing right now. No, the Hawks already played. They lost to the Bucks. Okay, that's why we're still a half game up. All right. Yeah, tough stuff. We'll look at the scores around the league and the standings here in a little bit, but for now, let's talk more about this game. I also really fast, before we go to the chat, I just want to acknowledge you guys have been insane on these post-game lives after losses this year. I talked about this briefly one time recently, but like last year was our first year doing this. And when we'd lose, like no one would show up. Nobody cared. This year, when we lose, everybody's in here. It's amazing. It's great. Like, part of the reason why we started the show was not just to celebrate the good times, but to be sad together when things aren't good. And right now, things are terrible. And I think a lot of you have found this is a great place to come vent and to come, mourn with fellow Orlando Magic fans after what has been a disastrous season. So thanks for choosing this to be your spot to do that after each and every game, win or loss. Again, there's a lot of you with us on YouTube. A ton of you have checked us out on X tonight, and so appreciate that. All right, let's go to the chat here for a little bit, see what we got tonight. Ty Mr. CV says, I can't wait till they start making changes to help our boys. I assume you're talking about the roster. Yeah, changes have to happen. It's very interesting to think about the fact that we are in the final countdown, right? We are in the last 5 weeks or so of some of these guys' Magic careers. This is a group of Magic players that have been together, again, couple of exceptions, right? But by and large, been together for many, many years. By NBA standards, it's unheard of to keep a core of a team together for this long, especially when it's not like an elite, contending team. Very rare. And so the fact that we only have another 5 weeks or so left of this crew, again, barring some sort of miraculous playoff run, which miraculous feels like a stretch even at this point. But yeah, this is going to be the end of the road for, I would imagine, a small handful at least number of guys on this team. I just can't imagine they run this team back. I know injuries are a big part of it, but I would imagine that Jeff Walton and his crew, they can't ignore it. They can't ignore it. Hey, look at this. Great minds think alike, Matthew. He said, this team is terrible. When it rains, it pours. Yeah, rough. Clement says that's the dumbest rule. A clock malfunctions, so they get away with a jump ball, and Orlando loses their chance to win. I don't know. What the opposite of that is the clock malfunctions and I can't talk. Clock malfunctions, and then they say, you know what? Let's run the play again. Then Toronto gets totally screwed because they defended that play well. Now Orlando gets another chance, a second chance to get it right. So I was not bothered by that. I was not bothered by that. I'm bothered that our clock operator hit the start button when it hit the rim, but whatever. Oh man, it's so crazy. That shot at the end by Walter with 0.5 of a second left, like I'm so numb to this season now that half of my brain was surprised that went in, but the other half of it just not at all. Like I'm not even fazed by it anymore. Like whatever. It's just the way it's gonna go. Just the way it's gonna go. It's crazy, man. Seth Barry says, bro, we can't catch a break. Or sorry, bro, can we catch a break? The answer to that question is no. No, we cannot. Rough. David T says, I kind of can't tell. Are we just struggling or overrated? That's a very good question, David T. That's an excellent question. I think that I think every Magic fan is probably evaluating at this point. I thought we overachieved. Well, everyone thought we overachieved last year, obviously. I thought we were not as good as our record last year. I thought we got some very fortunate bounces. We were very healthy last year, all those things, which is why I predicted this team to not improve this year. I predicted them to, I can't remember if I said 47 wins again or 46 wins, like a game less. I think I picked 46 wins. I'll have to go back and check our predictions episode. But I thought we were overrated going into this year, right? There were some people that were saying 50 wins and 4 seed and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't buying it. But even this is not even overrated. Like, well, I guess it could be overrated. Like this is a different level. Like there's nobody that expected this. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to have to work a little bit of magic. We're going to call an audible here. Going to have to call an audible, and it's going to take me a moment because I think our friend Jonathan Osborne is going to hop on here in just a second. So I need to prepare accordingly for that. A lot of moving pieces and parts when we have special moments like this happen. This is hard to believe, guys. It is and it isn't hard to believe, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, what have I done? I hope you guys are still there. I hope I'm not totally breaking this. We're gonna make this worth our while. I think Jonathan wants to hop in here and voice some of his own feelings about things tonight. Because yeah, why not? I mean, it's hard to believe this is where we are as a team, but yeah, it's rough times. All right, Jonathan, if you're here, I am prepared. I am now prepared for you. So feel free to hop in here, Jonathan. We're ready. We are ready. All right, back to live action here. Let's keep going through some of these, some of this chat until we get here. Seth Berry says, I can't stand the Raptors. I also can't stand the Raptors. But I also am very aware of what happened tonight. And we got to like swallow our pride tonight, because the fact that they checked out all of their big guns for the final moments of this game and still won is that's tough. You got to tip your cap to them. I can't stand it, but man, oh man. Yeah, exactly. Esco says Raptors pulled their best players at the end and still won. Yep. Major Everett says Wyatt's always got absolutely cursed. And that's the way it is. All right, Jonathan's here now. Let me bring in our dear friend. Jonathan, how are you doing this fine evening?
I'm not well, Kevin. I've got to be honest with you. I'm not well. I am so unhappy. I appreciate you letting me jump on here. I was just sitting here pacing in my bedroom, about to watch Severance, by the way, which will be the highlight of my night because this is garbage, what we're being subjected to on a nightly basis. Why is Paolo Banchero inbounding the ball with zero point 0.5 seconds left
Yep.
when he is the sole reason that you were in that game and had the lead with 4.8 to go? Like, of all play calls, we're gonna drop a lob to Wendell Carter Jr. at the rim, whose hands, by the way, are questionable at best.
Yikes.
Like 99 times out of 100, I am giving Paolo or Franz a chance with zero point 0.5 to go to flip up a shot and have it go in.
Yeah.
How, can you explain that to me? How that is the play call at the end of that game?
I cannot. And I thought that the second they came out of that timeout and I saw him there on the sideline, I was like, because look, even if you say, you know, the only good shot you can get is something going to the rim, which isn't technically true. You can get a jumper off with 0.4 of a second left, right? You can't dribble, but you can get a shot off. So, like, but even that, like, don't you want Franz going to the rim or Paolo going to the rim or someone else other than Wendell Carter Jr.? I don't know. I was very surprised that it was Paolo on the inbound. I would have loved to see just about anybody else. But yeah, very questionable, and I don't fully understand it.
I just think you have to give one of those guys who are legitimately like other than JI's three in the corner. I don't even remember a single guy outside of Paolo and Franz scoring in that entire fourth quarter.
Yeah,
And like, Franz obviously hit some big shots as well in the final, minutes, but like the last 4.5 minutes was literally all Paolo.
yeah,
And how you just say, no, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna throw a lob to Wendell.
right.
Like what world we're living in?
Yeah, he
Like
didn't.
Toronto was purposely trying to lose that game.
Yeah,
No Barnes, no Pirtle. They pull RJ with like 45 seconds to go,
yeah,
and then Jamal's like, or I don't know who called that play, but like, you know what? This is what we're gonna do.
yeah.
Like, what game are we watching?
Here's a couple things. Number one, I checked it when I first started the show. They pulled RJ Barrett with 97 seconds. It was a minute
Okay,
37
even
seconds.
better.
Yeah, exactly. But the other thing is there a world in which Paolo says, "Let me make that pass"? Is he the one that goes to Mosley and says, "Let me put it up at the rim for Wendell"? Is that possible? Maybe. I could see that happening, but still, it's at what point do the coaches go, "No, Paolo, we want to get you the basketball"? You know, even if he does say that, I don't know. I don't know.
Gosh,
It's
like,
it's tough.
it's laughable.
It is.
It is actually laughable the way we just talked about this on the pod. I said they're gonna lose to Toronto
Yeah.
because they haven't shown us to any other reason to believe otherwise.
Yep.
And then like you just cannot get a single stop the last 6 minutes. And
To
then
be
Jacoby Walter,
yeah.
what are we doing?
To be fair, though, those last two threes for them were ridiculous. Like, just
Yeah, they
ridiculous.
were. But it's just like, how can this be reality?
I know. But it shouldn't have come
How
down
can
to
this just
those two
keep
threes.
happening?
It shouldn't have come down to those possessions in the first place,
No.
obviously. But yes, like the fact, honestly, I was literally just saying this when you got on here. When Jacoby Walters 3 went in, I was not surprised. Like, I was not phased. I was like, that's just this season. That's this season for you right there.
Dude, like he wasn't set. It was the most like awkward sidewind. He looked like Michael Kidd Gilchrist taking a three and it went in.
I honestly think Tristan fouled him too. I think he hit him on the elbow and it still went in. And yeah, hard to believe.
People are like, why wasn't AB and why is like that was as good as defense as you possibly
Oh
could play.
gosh, yeah. Again, I think it was too good. I think he hit him, but
Gosh.
it's crazy. Hard to believe. But yeah, Magic lose again. 114, 113. They lose to the Raptors again twice in a row. They've lost 4 games in a row. They now sit 5 games under 500. Yeah, it's if there is were any Orlando Magic fans on planet Earth that thought the season wasn't over after Sunday, now the rest of you do. Like 100%, the season is done for. And people have been saying, yeah, there's 19 games left. Maybe they can get hot. Maybe they can go on a run.
No.
No, nope, not gonna happen.
Jalen, the surgery, it was the final straw for this team.
Right.
Like, I just don't know how we get through the last 19 games of this season. Like I'm paranoid of what is going to happen
Yeah.
because it just feels like sweeping changes need to be made, and it's like you have to push every right button and pull every right lever to like be able to do a 180 with this team so that October comes around and like everybody's able to buy in again. Because
Yeah.
if a lot of guys are still here and this is the energy that we're getting in October, this version of this Magic team that we all thought, could be, the next golden age could be over before it even gets started.
Wild. Wild to think about. That's crazy, man.
Lightning one.
Yeah, the Lightning one. We had a good start to the show tonight. That was fun. Do you want to go through some of this chat with me, Jonathan? Are you sticking around, or what do you want to do here?
What do you want me to do?
I would love
I'm lifeless.
I would love for you to hang out for some of these. You want to go through some of these
I'll
with
hang
me?
out until one makes me mad and then I'm gone.
What about this one? Raptors own you all.
All right, see you guys later. Have a good night. Peace and love.
Oh no, he's gone. He's gone. GG's. Jonathan Osborne, everybody. You know him, you love him. Oh yeah, pretty much speaking for all of us. Tough times, hard to believe it, and yet also very easy to believe. Josiah says, pack it up and get ready for next season. Yeah. That's pretty much, I'm almost at that point, right? Like I'm never going to be one to like root against the Orlando Magic, especially at this point. Like you can't tank. You can't tank at this point. Tanking's not an option. Where'd my mouse go? I need my mouse to return. There we go. Tanking's not an option because you're still 6.5 games up on the Brooklyn Nets. Okay. Like tanking. I mean, this team would have to literally almost lose out to have a chance to drop out of the play-in, right? So it's just not, mathematically, it's just not realistic, okay? So tanking's not a thing. But yeah, it's going to be a very awkward last 19 games because we are totally in that middle ground where we're not good enough to compete, we're not bad enough to tank, we're just kind of existing. And Jory B says it's so hard trying to watch this team play now. Yeah. It's the most unwatchable basketball I've ever seen. Again, this game was a little bit different, okay? This game, the Magic moved the ball pretty well for large stretches of this game. They got a lot of good shots. They shot the ball well. Again, 41% from three, and a loss for the Magic is unheard of this season. Unheard of. So the optics of this game were not nearly as bad as, say Sunday's game or a lot of other games lately. But still, to come away with that is with a loss is crazy, man. Hard to believe. Janine says, I literally have no words left. Can we please fast forward to next season already? Yep. All right, I'm still at before the show even started. I need to skip ahead. Oh, wait, I missed a super chat earlier. Let's see. Jalen Lawson says 5 is the best passer on the floor, unfortunately. Again, that's kind of what I was saying to Jonathan. Maybe it was a thing where either Paolo said, let me throw the pass, or coach just, like you said, says Paolo's the best player, especially because of his height, best passer, I should say, especially because of his height. We want you making that pass over the defense to hit Wendell. It's questionable, but is it outrageous or egregious? I don't think so. Janine also says, I missed the song. Me too, Janine. Again, lost 4 in a row. So we last played the song Sunday against, who did we play last Sunday? Washington, of course. That's the only team we could beat lately. Washington. Yep, of course. Hilarious. Jess says, I felt a little bit of happiness, and then just like that, it was shattered into a million pieces. Welcome to being an Orlando Magic fan in 2024-25. Yep. Colin Cordero says, P5's 5th 40-point game, and somehow we find a way to spoil it. Let's think about his games this year, his big games. Actually, let me do this. I want to pull up his big games this season because I can already think of a couple where that has happened or really close to it. Okay. If I go to his highest outputs of the season, you go to the 50-point game against Indiana near the beginning of the season. We barely eked that one out. I think it was by one. Pretty short. Barely eked that one out. It says by 4. It was a one possession game there. We needed every single point from Paolo to win that game. His 41-point performance, so his other 40-point performance this season, the Golden State game, lost that game. And then tonight, he drops 41 again, and the Magic lose that one. So his two 40-point performances, 41 to be exact, the Magic have lost both of those. The 50-point performance, the Magic barely squeaked by Indiana at the beginning of the season. Yep, wasted those performances. Oh, man. Jacob G says his franchise is cursed. Yep. Rael says keep Franz, Paolo, Jalen, and Mo. Everyone else can go. Major Everett says, I was scrolling and saw a vid of Jalen playing the song after a Cavs playoff win and dancing in the crowd cheering. I miss those times. Feels like we've lost our spirit and hope. That feels like an eternity ago, man. I know the video you're talking about. Well, I was at that game. I remember that night. Feels like an eternity ago. David says 3 of their 20 wins are against the Magic. You know, David, I'm glad you brought this up. I was looking at this the other day. Toronto has 20 wins this season. 3 of them are against the Orlando Magic. The Portland Trailblazers have 28 wins this season. 2 of them came against the Orlando Magic. They swept the Magic. The Utah Jazz have 15 wins this season. 2 of those came over the Orlando Magic. The Utah Jazz also swept the Orlando Magic this season. Let's see. There was one other one. Oh, Philadelphia. They've won at least 1, maybe 2 against the Magic this season. They have 21 wins. The moral of the story is last season, one of the calling cards for this Magic team was they beat the bad teams. They only had a couple of losses against really bad teams. This season, no such thing. The Magic can lose to anyone and everyone on any given night. Colin says, how do we expect to do anything in the play-in if we can't even take at least one home win from the 13th seed? That's exactly the question, Colin. That is the question. And that's part of why this is such a weird time right now. Because obviously we want it, again, I'm a diehard Orlando Magic fan. I can't find it within myself to cheer against them. I can't do it. But that's conflicting with the part of me that doesn't want to see this team get destroyed in the play-in, or by some miracle, if they were to win the play-in and move on to the playoffs, get destroyed in the first round against the Cavs or the Celtics. Right? That wouldn't be fun. That wouldn't be fun to have to watch that for 4 games, right? And some of you say, hey, it's sports, you have a chance of winning. And I'm one of those people, by the way. I would never sit here and say the Magic have a 0% chance of winning a playoff series against those teams. But they have a 0.000000001% chance, right? It's microscopic. The amount of things that have to go right for that to happen, it's impossible, pretty much. And I just don't want to watch that. I don't want to see that. Because it's not like there's like silver lining to this stretch. It's not like, oh, if we get so-and-so back, or, oh, we're really close, we just got to do X, Y, and Z better. It's like, no, this team is so far off from being competitive against halfway decent basketball teams. So far. It's tough. Really, really, really tough to watch. Kevin says, I'm feeling like Darth Kevin right now. Hey, to be fair, I did say Darth Kevin comes back in losing streaks, and this is a 4-game losing streak. So I guess if we lose Thursday, I'm going to have to bring that back. I'm going to have to bring it back after the Chicago game. Going to have to do it. Man, we're 30 minutes in, and I'm not even halfway through these comments, guys. I'm going to have to... Let's take a pause here. Let's go look at the box score and scores around the league and all that fun stuff. Franz, 28 points, 5 boards, and an assist as well. Shot the ball well. A really good night for Franz. Paolo was even better. 41 points, 14 of 20 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3, and 9 of 10 from the free throw line. An elite night from Paolo. Also had 8 boards and 8 assists. And 4 steals. Good grief, I didn't even notice that. 4 steals and a block with only 3 turnovers in 39 and a half minutes. Well, that's one of Paolo's best games of his career. Genuinely, across the board. Shot the ball really well from all 3 phases. 8 boards, 8 assists, 4 steals, a block, 41 points. That is statistically one of his best games of his career. I didn't realize how good it was until looking at it now. Wendell with 2 points, 6 boards, 3 assists. KCP, 12 points. That's one of his better scoring outputs of the season, folks. Hard to believe, but it is. That's one of his better scoring outputs of the season. That's probably like top 10, top 15 maybe games of the season, which is wild. I just saw we had a super chat. This one is from Gabe Gaines. Says, time to break out Tankathon. Here's the thing with Tankathon. Tankathon doesn't work until you are the 9th seed in the East, and the Magic are still the 8th seed. If the Hawks had won tonight, the Magic would have been a 9th, and maybe I would have thought about doing Tankathon tonight, but we can't even do Tankathon, unfortunately, because the Magic are still 9th. So, but we'll have to keep that in mind for future episodes. Corey Joseph gets the start tonight. He ends up with 8 points and 5 assists. I didn't think he was bad. A lot of people were rolling their eyes when they saw that he was starting. I thought he was actually quite good, very serviceable. Only 1 turnover on the night as the point guard for 26 minutes. I mean, you can't really complain about Corey Joseph tonight. Jet Howard goes 0 not good. Tristan Da Silva, very good game tonight. Played in 28 minutes after he's had limited minutes the last week or so. 12 points for him, 3 boards, 2 assists, and a steal. Anthony Black gets only 14 minutes tonight. That was very interesting. No Cole Anthony, and AB only gets less than 15 minutes on the floor tonight. I thought that was very interesting. Jonathan Isaac plays 18 minutes, was pretty impactful down the stretch, and then Goga ends up with 2 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, a block in 16 minutes. So Gary Harris, once again, is a DNP. Very interesting. Haven't seen him in a few games now, and there's no injury designation. He's just DNP's coach decision right now, which is very, 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 very interesting, and not something I think most Orlando Magic fans are going to complain about, if we're being honest. Soul Train says, I remember at the beginning of the season, the Magic looked great. People wanted Mosley to be coach of the year. Now everything is falling apart, and people want many people fired. Yeah. Obviously, I never have enough time to read all the messages in the chat out loud, but I can visually read through a lot of them. And the number of people that are wanting so many people fired right now. Players, coaches, front office. Yeah. A ton of people. Maddie World Peace says, let's celebrate this loss together. Yes, sir. Let's celebrate. Wow. What a great time. Dari, our dear friend, says the fact that we haven't won 2 in a row since December 21st and 23rd is wild. Put us out of our misery already. That really is wild. December 21st and 23rd. And here we sit March 4th. So, 2.5 months now since we won 2 in a row. Wow. It's been a long time. Rael says, who's had a bigger collapse, Magic or Mavs? Well, now, hold on a second. I don't think we can put these two teams in the same category because the Mavericks, the reason for their collapse is very different. Very different than ours. Theirs was a choice. Ours was not a choice. I mean, maybe you could argue we made choices at the deadline that aided this, but certainly not like their choices at the deadline. Woof. Couple of you saying that Wendell got fouled on that lob. I don't know, guys. I only saw the one replay. Maybe you've seen more replays after this, but I thought it would have been really soft if they called that. I didn't think that was worth much. Blaze RPT says, how long is it going to take to hear a Fire Weltman chant? To be honest, Blaze, I'm just going to be unfiltered here for a second. I don't think there's enough critical mass of diehard Orlando Magic fans to generate any kind of chant, anything close to that at Magic games. It's the weakest part of Magic games is the lack of diehard rabid fans, which is why the Six-Man Show exists, to create this environment for the most wild and rabid Orlando Magic fans, because we believe there should be more, right? I don't think there's enough, regardless, and I'm not saying I'm a Fire Weltman person. I do think Jeff Weltman should take a lot of the blame for how this season has fallen apart. But I'm saying whether it's Fire Weltman or whatever initiative diehard Magic fans may try to bring about, I just don't think there's enough rabid Magic fans to try and do something like that at Magic games at Kia Center. It's just a bunch of casuals. It's a bunch of casuals and tourists, and that's the way it's been for a long time, and it's the way it'll be for a while until this team becomes really, really good, and then you have the bandwagoners that become diehards, and it's just kind of the way the cycle goes. I mean, think back to the Dwight era. That's the way it was. Very quiet Magic games until 2008 or so, and then all of a sudden they got loud again, and fans got crazy again and passionate, and then a few years later, that all fizzled away, and that's how it's been ever since. We started to get a taste of it last year, which I loved, but this is such a huge setback this season that it's going to take another couple years to get back to that. As far as shooting goes, again, the Magic shoot 41.7% from three and lose the game. That's the part that's hard for me to believe. As for the quarters, Magic win the fourth quarter and the second quarter, tied in the first, but that third quarter once again did the Magic in. They got outscored 31-19. Toronto with 50 points in the paint. Yuck. Magic turned the ball over 14 times. All right, let's go to the scores around the league. Raptors beat the Magic, of course. The Cavs have come back against the Bulls. They were trailing earlier in this game. Okay, the scores are finally updating. Okay, there we go. Now they're updated. Timberwolves beat the Sixers. Cavs beat the Bulls. Warriors beat the Knicks. Bucks squeak out a win over the Hawks. Pacers beat the Rockets. Wow, the Pacers, man, they have really turned it around. Talk about polar opposites. Pacers were struggling to start the year. They were bad. And all of a sudden now, they are serious. They're going to end up being the 4 or 5 seed. Games currently going on. The Spurs are beating the Nets in the fourth quarter by a lot. And the Clippers and Suns are still in the first quarter. Pelicans, Lakers tip off later. What does it all mean? Let's update the standings here. Shouldn't be any changes from the Magic from when we started the show. But yeah, Magic now trail the 6-seeded Detroit Pistons by 6.5 games. The Magic are, how about this? Oh, look at this. Look at this, guys. Now, here's some math for you. You ready for this? The Orlando Magic are as close to the 6 seed as they are to the 11 seed. Ooh, they're 6.5 games back of the 6 seed, and they're 6.5 games up on the 11 seed. How about that? That is wild. That is hard to believe, but here we are. They're a game and a half behind the Miami Heat, who are in 7th. They're a half game up over the Hawks, who are in 9th. Again, the Hawks lost tonight to the Bucks. Otherwise, the Magic would have dropped below the Hawks tonight. Magic are 4 games up on the Bulls, who they play on Thursday. And again, they're 6.5 games up on the Brooklyn Nets for that 11 seed. Last couple thoughts here from the chat before we call it tonight. We're going a little long today, but hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. Man, hard to believe this is where we are. Damage says they beat us in rebounds and free throws. Yeah. Daniel says, can we get a point guard and a center? I would love that. Would love that. Sauce says, watching the game with the Raptors commentators was painful. Yeah, they're tough. They're tough, man. Tough to listen to. Our old friend Luke Sylvia says, Paolo is the first player to have 48, 8-4, and a loss since Russell Westbrook in 2017. Yay, another stat. Another stat that we can point to and say, Paolo got no help. I mean, Paolo and Franz got no help. Franz was good tonight. Matthew says, go ahead, Toronto. Take our play-in spot. They deserve it. That's funny. That's funny. Look, we have some trolls here tonight, and I'm just going to be honest. Hardy is one of those, and he says, lol, the other team wanted to tank, and you still lost. I don't normally entertain the trolls, but tonight, you're 100% right, brother. 100% right. We got to swallow our pride and just deal with this one, because that is embarrassing. That is terrible. You are 100%. I am 100% agreeing with the trolls tonight, because that is awful. Man. Hard to believe. Hard to believe. BMBM97 says, I still don't understand how the front office never thought to sign another player to replace Mo's production off the bench. I do not understand that. We're going to, obviously, Jonathan and myself on the Six Man Show, we're going to do a large breakdown of this season once the season is over, right? We're going to break down the highs and the lows. We're going to break down the acquisitions. And I'll give you a little teaser for what I'm going to say when that episode comes. I actually think on paper, Jeff Weltman had a very good, and Anthony Parker had a good offseason last year. I think on paper, KCP was a perfect signing to upgrade the guard position next to Jalen Suggs. I think Tristan Da Silva was a terrific draft pick. The problem came when the issues with this team were impossible to ignore, right? The shortfalls of this team, in spite of injuries and all those things, this team has a very clear set of flaws, right? And in spite of that, there were no moves made from October until the deadline in February. That, to me, is the most egregious part of all of this. I actually don't have a problem with Jeff Weltman's offseason last year. I don't. I agreed with the KCP signing. I thought at the time it was a good signing. Again, on paper, I still think it's a good signing. It hasn't worked out. It has been a miss. You can't argue with that at this point. I can't argue with that either. So to have a KCP be a non-factor, to have a Gary Harris be a non-factor, to have a Jet Howard be a non-factor, to have Caleb Houston be a non-factor, to have a Mo Wagner who's out for the season, all of these things to not make a deal at some point between October and February, that is a huge miss. It's a huge miss. To just sit there and just run with the team you have in spite of what's happening, it's a huge miss. It's just a huge miss, and it is what it is. All right, guys. I didn't even get to a third of these messages tonight. You guys have been insane in the chat. Always appreciate that. I'm going to hit a couple more of these, and we got to call it a night. We're already pushing 45 minutes. This is much longer than we typically do these shows, but hey, there's a lot of outrage and there are emotions, should I say, here to close out the season. It's not even really to close out the season. We still have a whole freaking 5 weeks left, but you know what I mean. Let's see. Saw says they tanked incorrectly. Yeah, shout out Toronto. Failed tank job there. Jesus says, I hope Kobe drops 40 on us so Weltman can regret not trading for him. Yeah, a guy like Kobe White would have potentially kept us afloat this season. Man. Yeah. Adam says, Luke has a jacket on by now. The good old shirtless days, SMH. Yeah, those days are long gone. Long gone. David T says, thank you again, Kevin, for this post-game live. No, thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining. Again, I'm glad this has become a place that Magic fans can come hang out after wins and losses. Jesus says, the season is already over, so that episode is coming on Thursday, right? It feels like it. Feels like it. All right, guys, let's call it there. I feel like we could do this all night long, but at some point, you just got to, again, swallow your pride and move on. Speaking of moving on, that's what the Magic have to do. They host Chicago on Thursday to wrap up this 7-game homestand. A game with, what, 2-3 wins in the homestand, I think we're at now. It's rough. Regardless, we'll be back Thursday. We'll see you then. Have a great Wednesday. And, of course, yeah, go Magic. Bye.